Welcome, everyone. Well, this episode is a little bit different. So I think everyone's going a little stir crazy in this quarantine time, and it may help you to zone out on a good Netflix binge or whatever it is that you watch. But one of those binges on Netflix is Tiger King. And whether it made you feel stressed out or pretty good about your own life, we can all agree it was probably pretty entertaining. And I actually have a friend who worked at Joe's Roadside Zoo. Meet Sus Enos. Sus, how you doing?
Hey, Strax, I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. So a little bit of background. Sus and I worked together for about a year at an NBC affiliate in Texas, KTEM, in 2016. And then she actually became one of my best friends. We got dogs together, just the whole enchilada. And she had told me about her experience at the zoo, and I knew, some of it, that you got to play with baby tigers and like all this stuff, but I had no idea the extent.
Hi, I'm Joe Exotic, otherwise known as the Tiger King, the gay gun cane redneck with a mullet. Welcome to my world.
Whoa!
It'd be nice if she'd just walk at it.
So tell us what was your job at the zoo, and kind of a little overarching what it was like.
So I was a camera operator and editor for Joe's YouTube show, and then it ended up also, whenever Rick came on, we were also shooting for a reality show.
Okay. So was Joe actually as crazy as he seemed in the documentary? Because I know that sometimes people play it up for, on TV or on Netflix or when someone's recording, but was he actually that crazy?
Oh, yes. Yes, he was. There was never a dull moment with that man.
God. I remember one time you told me you went with him to get his haircut. So tell me, what was your relationship like?
It was kind of weird because, he was my boss, but at the same time, we were, friends. So for his various errands that he would run, I went with him to get his haircut. I went Christmas shopping with him. We went to the Olive Garden together.
Is that where your love of Olive Garden started?
No. But I was glad that he wanted to go there as well.
Oh my God.
But yeah, so it was weird because we did everything together.
Yeah.
While I was supposed to be working. So
right.
So we kind of developed a friendship on top of being his employee.
Yeah. Well, and he seems like kind of nice. Obviously his hatred of Carol Baskin seems to come through. Was that real also? Did he talk about her a lot in real life?
He hates Carol Baskin. Within days of me being there, I knew all about Carol, all about their saga and their ongoing just battle with each other. What was the other question?
He seemed kind of nice.
Oh.
Was he nice? Otherwise, besides the Carol stuff.
He could be super kind.
Mm-hmm.
He loved to joke around, was a lot of fun to be around most of the time. But he could also be cruel and volatile and just rip people for no reason.
Wow.
So he's a very complex character, more so than they made it seem.
What was the craziest thing you saw?
Well, there was an incident when him and John broke up where they got into a physical altercation, and John had a gun on the park and was threatening Joe and shoved Joe, and the cops were called. We had to go to court. It was a whole ordeal. So that was a pretty wild day. And then there was one day where there was a really bad tiger fight. And unfortunately, one of the tigers ended up getting killed. So that was also a rough day, pretty brutal to watch that and have to film that.
Yeah.
So that was pretty crazy.
Well, and if I also want to say for people watching, if you didn't see Sue, she makes a kind of a longer cameo in episode 4, and she's actually in the trailer for the Netflix series. But I also wanted to ask you, so I think a lot of people had this question. I had a couple friends actually message me asking, they're like, did I just see Sue's? And you know, I think a lot of people wanted to know, were the animals abused or were they treated okay?
I mean, everything that I saw, they were treated really well. All the animal handlers were literally there for the animals. Like they all loved, their jobs, even though they didn't make a whole lot. But yeah, they did the best they could to take the best care of the animals with what they had. But like the documentary showed, in the winter, it was really slow, and sometimes they would have to choose, who got fed what day because they couldn't afford, to keep everyone fed.
Wow.
So, yeah, so that was kind of tough to have to watch, and but that was just, I mean, I guess that was the standard there from what Joe said. So.
Wow. And they got fed from the meat truck?
Yes.
Did you ever eat the meat on the meat truck?
No. Come on.
I assume not, judging by I know your eating habits, but you never know. Speaking of you guys eating there, what were the living conditions like? Because I'm sorry, those trailers, like I feel like I would have been scared to lay down in a trailer like that.
It was pretty gross.
Yeah.
And as you well know, I'm a neat freak.
Yes, you are. If you've ever, her car, she's like, oh my God, it's a mess. You walk into her car and there's like a speck of hair.
Yeah, so for me, it was difficult to live there. I mean, it was me and 3 guys. So trying to keep clean with all these boys, and they would have competitions to see who could go without showering the longest.
Oh.
It grossed me out. But yeah, the trailers were not great. And they're just impossible to get clean because, we're on the park all day getting tiger dander and dirt all over us from whatever we happen to be doing that day. But I mean, at least it had hot water.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that's a luxury for, some people across the world. So that is something to be thankful for, of course.
Yeah. So, yeah, my friends compared it to being at summer camp. It was like the equivalent of a summer camp cabin.
How long were you there again?
About 8 months.
Okay. How did you find this job? And then once you were there, did you guys all live there the whole time, or did you have any life balance?
So I found the job on Craigslist. And it sounded amazing, living and working at a zoo,
playing with baby tigers.
Yeah, so it sounded like a dream job, and I was very excited when I got it. And we lived on the park the whole time. We only had 1 day off a week. And yeah, other than that, it was this weird bubble that we lived in because, all of our social life was with our coworkers, you know? So it's we didn't really hang out with anyone but each other.
Along those lines, I mean, something that was kind of to me, it was horrifying watching the kind of the footage when Travis committed suicide. Did you know him? I mean, that just seemed like such a dark time in Joe's life, just in general at the zoo. I mean, was that really hard for everyone?
So I wasn't there when it happened. I did get a phone call shortly after it did, from some people that worked there at the time. But yeah, I did know Travis. Honestly, the kid was just fearless. He had no fear of anything. He was just a happy-go-lucky guy. And, I always thought he would die crashing his 4-wheeler because he drove that like a madman.
Wow.
But yeah, it was really sad to hear that happen to such a good kid.
Yeah. And you see, I feel like in the documentary, at least, I don't know, you see Joe take this wild turn and kind of turn into someone a little bit different. Do you think he deserves to be in jail?
Absolutely. It was only a matter of time before he got put away for his various schemes.
Mm. Question. So do you think he lit the alligator enclosure where all the video footage was stored? Do you think he lit that on fire, or was that someone else?
I think he did it 100%.
You think Joe did it?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, I was looking at the video and like the walking gait, it like kind of looks like Rick at the time, but I don't know.
It does look like Rick, I will say that, but there's no timestamp on it. So it could have been ripped from any time that Rick happened to walk by the gift shop, because that's where that camera is. It's pointed right at the street where you walk past the gift shop.
Well, speaking of Rick, he seemed to have a pretty big part in the documentary. What did you think about him?
I think it's interesting that Rick played such a role because, I mean, after the first couple months that we were there, like maybe after the second month we were there, he didn't really do much. And like me and the rest of the guys ran the show and did everything on a day-to-day basis. And Joe would ask where Rick was, and we would have to lie and cover for him because he would just be in the trailer drinking and doing, watching Netflix. So that was kind of interesting that they chose Rick of all people.
Yeah. Seemed like there was a lot of drinking and a lot of drugs. Was it really that much like debauchery, I guess, on at the zoo?
So, I mean, we didn't do drugs, but we drank a lot. I mean, I was 25 years old, like, we didn't have anything else to do because
I think a lot of 25-year-olds drink a lot.
True. And it was like, what else were we gonna do for entertainment? We're living in these, crappy trailers, like can barely get internet. It's not like we could just stream Netflix. We had to like go to a Red Box if we wanted to get a movie. So yeah, so we partied a lot. I mean, I was drinking way more than I should have been, but that was kind of all there was to do.
So personally, do you regret working there, or are you happy you kind of went through that experience and had that kind of had that phase?
I would say I don't regret it. I'm sorry for anything that happened that may have upset people, or now knowing what I know about Joe, like I wish things could have turned out differently for him, because I don't think he's a bad person. Yeah. He's obviously done horrible things, but yeah, no, I'm glad I did it. And like, when am I ever gonna hold a baby tiger again? That's pretty awesome.
And I know you, I know how much of an animal lover you are, and you've watched my boys for I don't know how many years, my dogs. I don't have, kids, but you watch, and I know how much of an animal lover you are. I would trust, anything with you. So I imagine that you were just as loving then. But speaking of doing bad things, you were talking about Joe. Do you think that Carol Baskin killed her husband?
Yeah, absolutely.
But you never met her, right?
I never met her. I was there when she was like messaging back and forth with Rick. But that's really the only thing that I ever, saw of her.
Yeah. And what was his name? Jeff, the guy who came in and kind of bought the...
Oh, Jeff Lowe? Yeah.
Yeah. What was he like?
I never met him, but from everyone that I've talked to that has met him, they say he's awful. They said he's even worse than Joe, that he deserves to be sitting right next to him in a cell.
Do you think Joe will get out?
No. I know everyone wants a pardon, but I think people are forgetting that he killed innocent animals. Like, regardless of the murder for hire thing, which I think is a joke, honestly, because I mean, he's been threatening Carol for years, and if he wanted to do it, I feel like he would have gotten it done by now. But yeah, I think people are kind of losing sight of the fact that Yeah, he's done some pretty horrible things, and he definitely deserves to stay put. So
that's interesting. It's so interesting kind of watching from an outside lens and then just hearing your point of view. I mean, what did you think about the documentary as a whole?
I really liked it. I thought it was very entertaining.
That's for sure.
Right? Like I learned new things watching it, I feel that it's kind of strange how Joe has come out like a hero.
Yeah.
And everyone hates Carol, which is
right. Yeah, they kind of portrayed him as I mean, I think you like a lovable jerk, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know, he definitely, you can tell he's a quack and in my opinion, but like a part of him is like, he seems nice. So I can't tell whether to like hate him or like be like, but the fact that I know you said like he like killed innocent animals, and it's been like a month since I've watched it now, so I'm like trying to remember all the details.
Right.
But what do you think that actually you just told me that Nicolas Cage is going to be cast to play him in a movie?
I think so what I read was they're doing a TV, like a mini series based on this article that was in Texas Monthly, and that Nick Cage is going to play Joe Exotic.
Wow. What do you think about that? What do you think about them like kind of glorifying just this whole thing?
I could see why they would do it. It's super entertaining.
Yeah, it's crazy. And the craziest part is that it was real life.
Oh yeah, I know. I lived it. Because even I'm conflicted about it, because like when you spend that much time with a person, like I was with Joe 10 to 12 hours a day, every day for 8 months.
Yeah.
And it's like, I know that fun, happy-go-lucky side of him, but I also know that like horrible, cruel, just, intolerable human as well. So it's like weird to think that people glorify him in a way, but like, I mean, I think he has some redeeming qualities, but at the end of the day, he's also part monster,
Yeah.
The Jekyll and Hyde.
Well, there you go. Sus, is there anything else, like any other big burning questions that people always ask you, or anything else you really want people to, if they're watching this, to kind of take away?
Big burning questions. Not that I can think of.
Well, I don't think I have any other questions for you. I'm sure I'll like text you something in a week and think of something, but
do a follow-up.
Yes, exactly. Well, thanks for coming on our mini series. I know this was, like I said, a little bit of a different version, but we're all here in quarantine, and thought people might be interested in hearing kind of straight from the source your thoughts on everything. So thanks for joining us.
Anytime, Strax.
All right. Thanks everyone so much for joining us. We have some more episodes coming, so make sure to tune back in.